A to Z Mysteries, Super Edition 6, The Castle Crime, by Ron Roy. Chapter 2. Mandy led the kids through a pair of black curtains. On the other side, they saw a room full of people. Only they weren't real people. They were man-made statues that looked alive. A few tourists were wandering around. "Oh my gosh," Josh said. "There's Johnny Depp." "And Kate Winslet," exclaimed Ruth Rose. "And John Wayne," Dink added. "They look so real," Josh said. "Are they all made of wax?" he asked Mandy. "The heads are sculpted from wax, but not the bodies," Mandy said. She tapped on Babe Ruth's arm. It sounded hard, like plastic. "Long ago, Madame Tussaud used wax for the bodies as well," Mandy explained. "But wax melts and shrinks, so now we make the bodies out of fiberglass." "Mandy, how long does it take to make one of these?" Dink's father asked. "About 4 months," Mandy said. "If you come back another day, you can meet some of the artists who create them." Ruth Rose walked up close to the figure of a beautiful blonde woman. "Is this Marilyn Monroe?" she whispered. Mandy smiled. "Gorgeous, isn't she?" "The famous movie star was wearing diamonds." "Are her diamonds real?" Dink asked. "Nope, they're fake, just like all the jewelry in the museum," Mandy said. "How about their hair?" Josh asked. He was standing next to a statue with long hair and a flowing beard. "It's all real human hair," Mandy told them. "And each hair was placed in the wax head by hand with tweezers, one hair at a time." "Wow," Dink said. "That must take forever." Mandy smiled. "About 6 weeks to do a head of hair," she said, pointing to Elvis Presley. "We put about 10,000 hairs in Elvis's head." "What do you do when the hair gets dirty?" Ruth Rose asked. "We shampoo it," Mandy said. "That's why we use real human hair. We can even style it and cut it the way you do with your own hair." They walked through another pair of black curtains. Suddenly, they were in a room with red velvet walls, fancy furniture, and soft lighting from electric candles. "This is the world leader's room," Mandy told the kids. Ian was talking to a small group of tourists. He was explaining how the wax heads were made. Dink walked over to the figure of a woman with reddish hair. She was dressed in a black suit. He read a sign that said she was Margaret Thatcher. She had been the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Ruth Rose and Josh were reading the sign too. "So she was like the President of England," Ruth Rose said. "Cool, she was the big boss." "Look, there's our president," Josh said. He walked over to the current president. He wore a dark blue suit and a red tie. He was smiling and looked very real. "Where do you get the clothes?" Ruth Rose asked. "Usually the subject gives us 2 sets of clothing," Mandy said. "We dress the statue in one set, and the other is kept in our wardrobe room for emergencies." "What kind of emergency?" Josh asked. "Well, as you can see, people like to walk right up and touch the statues," Mandy said. "So the clothing gets dirty, smelly, even ripped sometimes. Once a little boy threw up on David Beckham's uniform." "Gross," Josh blurted out. Mandy smiled. "Totally," she said. "So we just changed Beckham into his spare uniform." "There's so much to see," Dink said. There were more than 40 world leaders in this room. "You'll have more time on your next visit," Mandy said. She looked at her watch. We close in 10 minutes, but your London pass lets you come back as often as you want. Is the Queen of England's figure here? Ruth Rose asked. She's in the next room, Mandy said. Follow me. On the other side of some black curtains was Queen Elizabeth. She stood next to a red and gold chair. Gathered around the Queen were her husband, Prince Philip, their son, Prince Charles, and the Queen's grandsons, Prince William and Prince Harry. Metal poles held a red velvet rope that stretched around the royal family, keeping the kids and Mr. Duncan about 10 feet away. Why is this rope here but not around any of the other figures? Josh asked. Mandy rested her hand on the rope. To keep people away from the Queen, she said. Too many tourists like touching her. Wow, Dink said. They all look so real. Yes, Mandy said. William and Harry came in not long ago to have their pictures taken with their wax figures. We could hardly tell them apart. The men are a lot taller than the Queen, Dink said. She's average height, Mandy said. About 5 feet 5 inches. Her son Charles is nearly 6 feet, and both grandsons are about 6'3". Even the fake diamonds look real, Ruth Rose said. The Queen wore a diamond tiara on her white hair and a fabulous diamond necklace around her neck. Yes, these were made to look identical to the Queen's own jewels, Mandy said. In fact, it was her tiara and necklace that were stolen yesterday. The four stared at the royal family. Prince William had blonde hair and wore a navy blue jacket and a black tie. His cap was black and had a wide red band over the bill. His brother Harry had orangey red hair. He was wearing a red tunic with silver buttons. A white belt was cinched around his waist. The silver belt buckle gleamed under the lights. Both men wore white trousers, white cotton gloves, and black shoes. It almost seems like they could wake up and walk around, Dink said. How do they make the eyes look so real? Josh asked. Mandy tapped her watch. I can show you, but not today, she said. As they passed through the black curtains, Dink noticed a man standing near Albert Einstein. He was holding a sketch pad and a pencil. I should have brought my sketching stuff, Josh said. The kids watched the man making swift marks on his pad. He was tall and had a short beard. His hair was hidden under a baseball cap. Mandy walked up to the man. Sorry, sir, but we're closing in a few minutes. The man nodded, closed his pad, and strolled toward the exit. As Mandy led the group out, Ruth Rose peeked into an open doorway. Oh, is this where the extra clothes are kept? She asked. Yes, Mandy said. Want a quick peek? She led them into a large room with a carpet on the floor. Everywhere the kids looked were racks of clothing. Each rack was inside a glass case. Dink noticed a small round lock on each case. Above the glass cases were shelves holding fake jewelry, wigs, hats, beards, even a row of false teeth. A short woman with gray hair sat at a table in a corner. She was stitching a pink dress. 3 fingers on each hand were wrapped in band-aids. On the table were scissors, a jar of pins, and a tape measure. A ring of keys lay next to the scissors. Sophia is repairing a gown that ripped when someone stepped on it, Mandy said. Why does she have all those band-aids on? Ruth Rose asked. To protect her fingers, Mandy said. Those scissors and needles are sharp. Sophia looked up, smiled at the kids, and went back to her work. In another corner, Dink noticed a small desk with a bulletin board above it. A few pictures had been pinned to the cork. Dink recognized Mandy with a smiling man in one picture. In another, Mandy was hugging a dog with ocean water in the background. Next to the desk were a sink and a mirror under a small window. A row of miniature bottles sat on a shelf above the window. Each bottle was filled with a different colored liquid. "What's in those little jars?" Dink asked. "Paint," Mandy said. "We use it for quick repairs. The shoes get scuffed up a lot from tourists stepping on them. Sometimes our cleaning crew's vacuum cleaners bang up against the shoes. When that happens, we just choose the right paint color and touch up the scuff. If it gets real bad, we replace the shoe." Josh pointed to a jar of glass eyes. "They look like marbles," he said. "Marbles that stare at you." "Those are old," Mandy said. "We have better methods for making eyes now. If you come back, I'll show you how we do it." She waved a hand around the room. "As you can see, we have thousands of clothing changes," she went on. "If that little boy vomits on anyone else, we can get that outfit dry cleaned and dress the figure in the spirit outfit." "This is amazing," Josh said. They were surrounded by hundreds of suits, jackets, dresses, fur coats, hats, scarves, capes, and uniforms. One rack held hundreds of neckties. "Why is everything inside those cases?" Dink asked. "To protect the clothing from getting dusty," Mandy said. "How do you find what you need?" Ruth Rose asked. "Each rack is labeled," Mandy said. "For example, world leaders, the royal family, and sports figures are all on separate racks. And each outfit has a tag with the figure's name. Of course, every item of clothing is also in our computer." They heard a soft bell sound. 6 o'clock closing time," Mandy said. She led the kids and Dink's dad toward the exit.